Hey everyone, it's Andrew. Welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be doing a video doing an unboxing and initial review of tatami mats from Tokyo Tatami Maker. They just arrived in the mail today and I'm super excited about opening these, taking a look at them, and giving you a general sense of the whole process. But the reason why I bought tatami mats was for a long time now I wanted to transition from a traditional Western bed, which has like cushions and springs and things like that, to a floor bed, specifically a Japanese Shikibuton, or a floor mattress from Japan. And so I did a lot of research on this over the past 2 years. Almost 2 years ago, I almost pulled the trigger on purchasing it and transitioning at that time. However, I had a queen bed at that time, had a queen mattress. The mattress was kind of beat up and it needed to be replaced. And so I ended up buying like a $300 extra firm mattress from Amazon just to carry me over until I moved. And then recently I moved for work. And so in this process, I ended up purchasing through Futon Beds from Japan, a Shikibuton, Kakebuton, and 2 sets of their covers for each of those in the queen size. And then I ended up purchasing the tatami mats from Tokyo Tatami Maker just because they had a good design and process. So before we open the tatami mats, I just did want to discuss the whole process, how I ended up deciding on these, and kind of the next steps as far as video content. But as far as the tatami mats, I ended up going with Tokyo Tatami Maker because they make authentic tatami mats straight out of Japan. They've got a wide variety of styles and color options. And so if you look on their website, they've got about, I think it's like 5 or 6 different types of tatami, depending on what you want, either synthetic or traditional agusa. So it really gives you that aroma if you want it, or they have synthetic versions as well. Additionally, they have a wide variety of color options as far as personal preference. So traditional natural colors that can be like all the way from like a yellow straw color to mine are going to be brown and a checkered pattern, to a darker like grayish black. So they have those for like more of the classic tatami, versus otherwise the ones that are more like room based. They have like some like pinkish hues, teals, like lighter colors as well. So there's a wide variety of options, and what I ended up doing was just reaching out via email, asked them what I needed, which was specifically a queen size tatami mat setup. I wanted the classic style where it's one sheet, because when I move, or if I'm moving it about the room, I wanted something that was very easy and mobile. They do make a standard size where it encompasses basically the length of a bed. However, it comes in 2 sheets, which is a little bit shorter like this, and then a longer piece as well, which is more mobile and more like you could stack it and probably fit it in a car. But I really wanted just one concise piece so I could like lift it up, vacuum clean the room, move it around if I need to very easily. And so that's why I went with the custom size. As far as the queen size Shikibuton, I ended up going with that through Futon Bed from Japan, simply because their standard size or full size and their double size, I felt like the single size wasn't wide enough for how I sleep, because I tend to roll where I go from my back to my side and move a little bit. So I felt like it wasn't going to be wide enough. And then their double size, I felt like it would be reasonable, but when I reached out to Futon Beds from Japan, they said that for 2 people, usually the queen size is better and the full is a little bit too small or it's a little bit tight. Looking at Reddit, online reviews, all that sort of thing, a lot of people that are in this situation, they end up buying 2 separate full-size Shikibutons for them, and so then they line it up with 1 sheet and 1 sheet there, so you have separate mattresses, but you have a seam down the middle. But typically that works a little bit better for couples because you have more space and you have your individual tatamis for each. And so that's what a lot of people do, but we'll try the queen size when it gets here, see how flexible it is as far as moving it easily from a daily space or purpose. So that still has to arrive, but that's kind of how I ended up at that. As far as Tokyo Tatami Maker, I picked that rather than like online or other online options because it was authentic. If you look on Amazon, the majority of them are like a thin pseudo tatami where it's like a sheet, like a single sheet that's a 3 fold type of thing where you can fold it up, or it's like a 6 thing where it's like 6 cubes and you can fold it up that way. But I felt like it was a little bit too thin and it just didn't carry the value or rationale for doing it. And then the other options for tatami specifically was you can get them through J-Life. I looked into J-Life initially when I first got interested in Shikibutons, but I almost kind of pursued it, but thanks to Reddit and the threads, like the minimalism threads, J-Life really isn't authentic Japanese. Their futons that they have are Gold Bond mattresses, and so they're a traditional mattress that is made in the US and isn't anything special or Japanese or the construction's different. And futon beds from Japan, and I can't pronounce it, it's Takayoma or whatever, or Yoka or whatever. I'm gonna spell it later. Both of those make authentic ones that are all cotton-based, no synthetics as far as that. So I initially looked at J-Life. A lot of people look at it first, think it's great, but on the surface it looks like it's authentic, but it isn't. So that's why I steered away from that and steered away from the tatami as a result as well. And then the other option was Matsu, I think, makes some. However, the shipping was really, really expensive when I pursued both their Shikibutons as well as their tatami mats. I think it came out to almost $1,000, so it was just cost prohibitive there. Futon Beds, or Futon Shop online makes both a mattress as well, or a frame plus tatami, so that's an option as well. But it really is similar. It's not authentic Japanese. It's not a Japanese company from that. But there are reviews there that say it's solid. And then if you want a frame, not something directly on the floor, that is a potential option. Especially because my concern with floor sleeping was, will it be comfortable for me long term, or will I want to elevate myself on some sort of platform bed, and what would that look like? So if you want to purchase it, there's a couple futon bed options. Like there's a couple websites out there that have the frames. I looked into them, but they cost about like $700 to $800. And when I looked into it, I just kind of said, let's not do that quite yet. But if I want to transition, I can. My only concern with the Tokyo Tatami mats are that if the size of 30 by 80 size isn't standard for like those types of frames, will it fit or not? But we'll get to that if we get to it. So that's kind of a roundabout thing. The other options I discussed, let me see it because I wrote it down, where we talked about J-Life. One thing with J-Life is I did end up buying their Buckwheat pillows. So I like the design of the Buckwheat pillow. I've used Buckwheat for my meditation cushions and really understand how it works as far as being a denser material and conforming easily. So for the past 4 months, I have been using the J-Life Buckwheat pillows. I'll review it in a separate video, but overall I absolutely love them for comfort, the fact that the neck pillow customizes to your like cervical spine area, and you can kind of adjust the density as you need. The only drawback is when I bought it 50% off. I got it's like the Asa Hira or something like that style, and it was gold. And what happened over time, relatively quickly within the first month, is the color started changing on it, where the gold started turning green. And it seems like where the areas that it wears, because there's a pillowcase that's like a sleeve around it, and underneath it it's okay, but all the areas where I rub against it is shifting over to a green color. So I'm disappointed with that, and I considered buying replacement covers. However, they're roughly $70 a pop through J-Life, so it just doesn't seem to make sense. So I actually recently purchased neck pillow covers as well as standard pillows through one company that had those dimensions, and so I'll discuss that later on. But the J-Life pillows, the Buckwheat pillows, absolutely love them. We'll review them in a separate video, but as far as their other content or products, I would shy away from it. And then, so as far as that, and then as far as futons, we talked about J-Life, we talked about Futon Shop. Soaring Heart has an option too, but it's very, very expensive. I think it was like $1,000 to $1,200, and it didn't encompass all the options available, and it was hard to tell whether it was authentic as far as the cotton insert. Matsu actually makes really good ones too. They've got the option of varying and customizing the number of layers, whether you want cotton or wool, and you can get like 2 to 12 layers. And I actually put all the information as far as style, design, everything like that. However, when I went to purchase it, the shipping cost was prohibitive, where it was like $1,000 or $1,200 and shipping wasn't covered, so it just didn't work out. However, if you're more local and you are available to pick it up from there, I think that's a very good option, and a lot of the Reddit threads mention that. All right, so that's that. And then Takaokaya, it's Takaokaya. So this is another option that's authentic from Japan as far as Shikibutons. They make phenomenal Shikibutons as far as the color options. They have a neck pillow, they have the Kakebuton. They've got very like, not plain, but very neutral, natural color palette, which I absolutely loved. I really gravitated towards that. My entire apartment is that sort of setup. However, the issue with them is they do not cover shipping. And so if you look at the prices, the price for their futon beds are a little bit lower. However, their shipping is about $400 to $500 to the US. And so with that in mind, when you added up the cost, it was either equivalent or more, I think, than the futon beds from Japan. So I chose not to go with them, but they are authentic. They seem like a very, very good product. A lot of people have great reviews on them. It's just the shipping costs, I just couldn't justify spending like that much. Granted, like these companies are probably spending that much and they incorporate it into the cost. It's just like cognitively, I couldn't process that. And then lastly, there's plenty of options through Amazon for both the tatami mats, which we discussed, as well as discussing futon beds. So there's kind of like pseudo Japanese futons where it's more just like a cushion on the ground, but they also have a wide variety of ones that are more of using a synthetic material. So I think it's Zeni and Julie and Emor all make very similar ones where it's not cotton like what the futon beds from Japan will have. It'll have a synthetic material, which is probably a good place to start because they're about like anywhere from $100 to $250, which if you're getting into this is all very, very expensive and pricey. Like for instance, the tatami mats came out to $950, and the futon beds from Japan, the whole order came out to $1,400. That incorporated both the Shikibuton, the Kakebuton, and then 2 separate covers for each just to make sure I had them. However, on Amazon you can get it for anywhere from like $100 to $300, which is much cheaper. So if you're in the process of trying this out and you haven't been on a firm mattress or haven't done floor sleeping before, I would strongly consider pursuing an Amazon option just to try it out. Just with the consideration that the quality might not be as great, it might not be as durable, and the cushion might be a little bit thinner or not as good quality. But if you find that you like it and you build that into your lifestyle, then you can transition to one of these more expensive products just because it's a huge leap. However, I did a ton of research on this. I looked at this for 2 years. I had this very, very firm mattress from Amazon for a long time, and so I knew this was a good option for me, so I pulled the trigger as part of this move. The one thing I did want to discuss is with futon beds from Japan, not Tokyo Tatami Maker, I've had huge issues with shipping. So through email and conversation, it was great. They were very receptive, responsive, answered all my questions. The order went through, the order processed. I immediately got a message received about the order, an invoice, and instructions on how to create your online account. I did pay through PayPal, so anytime I do PayPal, I'm a little bit worried because it could be a scam. People set up these offshore, like international things and scam people. However, nothing came to that, and all the Reddit threads said it was great, and people had a great experience. However, what happened with my order is I timed it, or wanted to time it for when I moved so that it would be on arrival. However, I wasn't going to be to my apartment until June 26th, and when I ordered it, it said that the order would arrive on the 20th. So I had a 6-day time period where I was going to have this $1,500 order just sitting, and I didn't know where it was going to be. So I put a delivery change request into it, and that essentially changed it to the 26th. However, somehow through UPS, it got stuck and it hasn't delivered. So I've spent about 2 hours talking to UPS through their online stuff and had to file all these like claims and stuff like that to track this down. It seems like after my 2-hour conversation this morning, they finally figured out where it is and it's probably going to be shipped. But it was a huge headache, especially when you're dealing with something that expensive. So I provided feedback to futon beds from Japan. Hopefully they can help resolve this, but they did play free shipping for this. So it's just a consideration with that, is that if you live in an apartment building or you have to have like certain shipping factors, just try to get into a place where you know it's going to deliver through your standard UPS and you don't have to mess with the shipping aspect. So I'm waiting on the futon to arrive. In the meantime, I did purchase the Zeni queen size Japanese futon through Amazon. That one's about $100. I actually was originally planning on purchasing that prior to my move in case I ended up getting a period where it wasn't delivered. But like currently I've been just sleeping on a yoga mat and a couple blankets. But I purchased that just to play it safe. That'll act also as a second mattress for if I have guests, if they're comfortable sleeping on that. And it's an option that if I find that if eventually the futon bed from Japan is a little bit too thin, I can lay that underneath to increase the cushion, because a lot of people recommend doing that. So that's a whirlwind tour of my whole experience. The rationale for why I'm giving this is because it's a lot to process and look into and do a lot of research, and there's all these different companies and it's overwhelming. And Reddit was phenomenal. Thank you all for the minimalism thread and floor sleeping thread. You people like know everything about this, have lived through it. So I use that information to heart as far as avoiding J-life and kind of sorting this process. But now what we'll do is we'll open up the Tatami mats, take a look at them, we'll lay at them, I'll discuss them in detail, and hopefully they'll look awesome, and I'll lay on this rather than a yoga mat on the third floor. So thanks for all that, and then we'll get started with the Tatami mats. Okay, so here's the box the Tatami mats were sent over from Japan and there's absolutely no damage. As compared to the UPS experience, DHL did great. I got a notification when they were shipped, an estimation of when it was supposed to be delivered. I actually got updates the entire time. Earlier today, DHL actually sent me a notification that the driver was out for delivery and that I should expect it by a certain time. Prior to delivery, the delivery driver actually called me to make sure I was readily available, and then I met him immediately outside. So the shipping process for this was great, and I highly recommend DHL for shipping this. And this was free shipping as well. As far as the cost, I discussed it. This is going to be 30 by 80 as far as size for a queen size. It's going to be 2 mats. Each mat is 1.5 inches thick. They were $475 each. Came out to $950. For those of you that are worried about tariffs, taxes, all that sort of thing, I had no other expenses beyond what they initially charged me. So I was really worried, especially with Trump right now with all the tariffs and the fact that tariffs that this wouldn't get delivered on time, or it would get stuck somewhere. Sorry, this knife's not cutting. Stuck somewhere through customs or something like that, or I'd get stuck with a massive bill. So I anticipated potentially having customs of roughly anywhere from 7 to 24%. Okay, so here's that, and here are mats. I'm gonna take one at a time so I don't drop them. But this is one mat, and then this is the other mat. All right, so what I'm gonna do is just clean up all the cardboard and show you what these look like up close, but they look amazing and you should be super excited because I'm excited. Okay, so here they are, first impressions. These look absolutely amazing. So this is the Tokyo Jinja brown color, and I'll show you up close, but it's basically a brown and tan checkered pattern throughout, and it looks phenomenal. It really catches your eye. It's got a lot of texture and pop to it, and so I really like the color, and it looks exactly like the website as far as what it looked like. So they did a phenomenal job as far as that. As far as the feel, basically it's a grain, like a single grain or like pattern where it goes like across. And so when you run your hand across this way, it's smooth, but this way it has texture to it. And so all the reeds go this way, and it's well constructed and it's super tight. So it's like really, really cool to look at. Plus there's like an optical illusion pattern to it. When you see it, it kind of looks like it's moving when you move your eyes, just because it's got like different density. I'll show the camera. And then for the classic one, it's got these seams on the side which are black. You have the option of getting black, or there's some that have Japanese writing on the side. I stuck with the black just because I am not Japanese, can't speak Japanese, and I do not know what it would say, so it just doesn't seem appropriate. But overall, these are really great as far as the kind of design, construction, and impression. They're identical. The sizing is perfect, like literally, it matches perfectly. So it's the queen size. You could easily throw this on a bed or in a bed, or use it instead of a platform bed. The other thing before laying on this I did want to highlight is that it has it's like a cloth padded surface, but it's not just felt. I'll bring it closer. It actually is like it's hard to say. It's like got like a slight silicone-y plastic feel that makes it like a non-stick surface, so it's good from that standpoint. Plus it's padded, so it's about whatever, 2 millimeter pad that goes underneath this, and it provides a little bit more cushion, plus it'll protect your floors and it'll prevent it from sliding. So that's really cool. As you can tell, this is readily mobile. Like, I can lift this in one hand. You might need two hands, but it can move easily without any difficulty. Okay, they stopped calling, so, but you could easily move it, and that's the benefit of the one sheet, is basically I can put this down like this, lift when I'm done or whatever, I can lift it up. If I need to clean my room, I can sweep or clean that area, no problem whatsoever. I can take both and then lean them up against the wall. And if I need space, I can do it that way. So there's a lot of versatility as far as this. So if you want to lift up your bed, or you have a small bed space, you can get a whole room. So this is really, really conducive for those of you that live in studios or small spaces, because it's very customizable as far as like allowing you to use a space more with more versatility. So that's kind of the gist of it. What I'm going to do now is I'm just going to show you what it looks like. Actually, I'm going to lay on it just because I can't help it. And it's different. So it's like it's comfortable because it is not like a hardwood floor. I've been sleeping on this with a yoga mat, and this is like solid, like whatever type of wood, versus this has a little bit of cushion, but it provides a lot of support as far as being firm and supporting like your back, pelvis. And a lot of people say that when you transition to floor sleeping, it helps your back and your joints. So it should be more comfortable long term, even though it's not intuitive. And what I found actually, even just switching from mattress to a yoga mat, is it supports my pelvis, and my low back pain is better because my pelvic alignment's a little bit better than if I'm sleeping on a mattress where my pelvis sinks down into the mattress. And so just from the past couple of days, I've actually slept better, even though I'm just on a yoga mat. But overall, it's got a lot of cushion. The other thing I didn't discuss about tatami mats and why you should get them is that with the futon beds, they all have cotton insert that is not synthetic, and so it's more prone to moisture and mold. And so there's a whole care process as far as taking care of them. So when you buy a Shikibuton, it's going to be like a real Shikibuton without synthetic material. It's going to have cotton in it. So you have to lift up the mattress every day. You should fold it away. You should rotate it, take care of it. So you should basically fold it up into a different space. You should flip it around every day. On a weekly basis, you should air it out. And so that's traditional for what you should do. Additionally, if you're in a very humid environment, you want to make sure it dries out. So if it's humid outside, especially during summer right now where it's super humid, you want to make sure it dries out, because it's really going to absorb the moisture from your skin while you sleep and when you sweat. And that moisture is what will damage it long term. I know it's gross, but that's part of the process and care. So don't just jump into this, buy something expensive, and then say, oh, I didn't know about the mold process, because you really should do the research for that and figure out how to take care of it. So what I'm gonna do is lift it up every day, fold it out of the way, flip it, and on a weekly basis, I'm going to change the sheets on it and then air it out in that process and try to dry it out. Additionally, if I need to, depending on the moisture in my apartment, I might get a dehumidifier just to minimize the humidity in the apartment. But I'll just take the camera real quick. Sorry, my camera actually fell down, but this is what it looks like. Or not the Futon Tatami mat. And so this is the Jinja brown checkered pattern. So it looks identical. And this is what I mean by it's got this like, there's like a slight kind of like illusion pattern to it if you move around. It's kind of subtle, but overall I'm very, very impressed with this. So that's all I have for this video. Definitely follow up for the futon beds from Japan one, and then follow up from the J-Life Buckwheat pillow one. Check out my other content. This is the last of what I need to do for my new apartment. So I've got the futon bed coming. I'm actually gonna have a side table for both a meditation space as well as like storing things, which will be next to this. And then I'm gonna put a dresser over there. And so that's all I'm gonna have in this room. It's gonna be very minimalist, but I've really thought this out, and I think it's gonna be a great experience as far as once it's all set up. So thanks for watching and have a great day.